Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I came across a very interesting article on identifying Silver Era bodybuilders using classical Grecian sculpture physique terms. And I really thought I would share this with you because what I really enjoy about the Silver and even the Golden Era bodybuilders was something that was stated back then, that if you looked at the silhouette of these figures, even from a mile away, you could tell exactly who they were. Each of the bodybuilders back in the Silver and Golden Era had a unique look, and the uniqueness of their physique was mainly because of their structure. Their structure allowing them to put a certain amount of muscle on by genetic predetermination. And when you then associate this with the classic sculpture forms of Greek art, it really does take on another level as to classifying and identifying the Silver Era physiques. So in Greek art, you basically have things like terms going all the way from a more slender physique to a more massive physique, such as Apollo, Theseus, more muscular than the Apollo. So the Apollo being more slender, Theseus being a little bit more muscular, more athletic, and Herculean. And when we start comparing the Silver Era physiques, we can really see how each of these fit into each category. And I thought it was a very fascinating article and topic to address. So let's have a look at that today. Now, when we look at sculpture, in particular those of representing Greek gods, such as Apollo and Hercules, we can clearly see that there is a difference in the frame or the skeletal structure of these particular beings, as well as their muscular development. And this is exactly how the authors, in this case, categorize the Silver Era physiques. As mentioned earlier, the Silver Era physiques all had their unique look, and depending on their skeletal structure at the frame and the amount of muscular development, this is exactly how they categorized one from the other. It is clear to see that Apollo, for example, is way more slender and has less muscular development than a Herculean-like representation, such as the Hercules sculptor. And this is what we're going to look at today. Now, the god Apollo, both a Greek and Roman god, as you can clearly see, was more slender, athletic, and had a very symmetrical, and some would argue a more feminine style of physique. So Silver Era bodybuilders that actually reflected and were characterized in this particular style of sculpture were such examples as Tony Sansoni from the early 40s. As you can see, his physique is athletic, one would say, very symmetrical and slender. Similarly, you have Georges Boulanger, Mr. Canada of 1949. His frame isn't huge. He only has like 15 or 16 inch arms, a very slender, athletic physique, still very symmetrical and aesthetically pleasing, however. Now, as we move further up the muscular categories, we could say that Theseus, the god Theseus, was much more stronger, as depicted in these images that I've got from the internet. He had a much more masculine look about him. Even you can see he's a more of a warring figure, and still symmetrical though. Also, some styles have mentioned him as being an Olympian type, so he's starting to look way more muscular in that respect. Now, the authors of this particular article categorize Floyd Page, as well as Steve Reeves, Clarence Ross, Tony Marks, and even Abe Goldberg as physiques that represent this Olympian style, this Theseus godlike Greek art sculpture style of physique. Obviously, we can see that with Steve Reeves, he had wonderful aesthetics, very symmetrical, wonderful musculature development as well as musculature. Not overly developed though, not like the later Vulcan and Herculean types, which you're going to have a look at now. Now the Vulcan god can be seen in this particular sculpture, obviously has a lot more muscle. The waist is a lot thicker, the legs are a bit more bulkier, as well as the arms, the deltoids. The whole physique is more bulkier. So it represents a much more muscular, a much stronger individual, still symmetrical, still Olympian, but you have started to lose, as the authors would say, a little bit more of the aesthetic proportions that you get from the Apollo or the Theseus style look. Now, one of the best examples, as given by the authors, is of course John Grimmick. John Grimmick, although he was a fantastic poser, and you can clearly see in this dramatic shot of the archer as he's twisting low, kneeled in a position, extending his arm and creating, by twisting, a tiny waist. However, when he creates this illusion of a wonderful V-taper and aesthetic look. But when you look at him front on, like we have been looking at all the other bodybuilders, we can clearly see that his waist is thicker, his legs are bulky, the whole physique is bulky. And so he had a much more muscular, stronger look, a Vulcan style physique. Others that fit into this category were Leo Robert, Alan Stephan, and Ed Theriault. Another very strong, muscular physique. Finally, we reach the massive Herculean look as portrayed by this sculpture. You can see that everything is massive. Legs, torso, the chest is huge, the deltoids, everything is overdeveloped. And the author of this article actually argues that at this point the muscles are overdeveloped and are not aesthetically pleasing anymore. This represents a massive, super strong physique, huge muscular development all round. Now, I found it very interesting that the authors slipped here into the category George Eiferman, Reg Park, and the Tanny brothers as well. I found that very, very interesting, mainly because for me, both Eiferman and Reg Park, although being very large, muscular developed individuals in their day, I don't think necessarily that they were not aesthetically pleasing. I thought that their development, the muscular development was most definitely Herculean, no doubt about it. Look at these phenomenal shots of both Eiferman and Park. This is my favorite shot of Reg Park, no doubt. Damn, I'm pretty sure that Arnold saw this shot and said, damn, I want to be exactly like Reg Park. Who wouldn't? Looking at this photo is just phenomenal. Thick everything, thick pecs, delts, arms, lats, legs, the works, calves, all of it. Beautiful. I don't think personally that this look is nothing to be to be frowned on. I never thought, I didn't like that part of the article at all, but the authors do state that at this point, with increasing muscular development, you would lose the taper, you would lose the symmetry and the aesthetic look, and they conclude that therefore the Apollo and Theseus look was ideal. Not in my own opinion. I've always liked a more massive physique myself, but it really does depend on the individual's choices. So that's essentially what bodybuilding is. It is, at the end of the day, if you want to call it, the male beauty pageant. People have different tastes. I mean, look at what it has become nowadays, with basically it being, in my own opinion, a grotesque competition where basically drug abusers induce themselves into a muscular obesity. That's what I would call it. There is no taper. It's just grotesque building for the sake of building size. Whereas if we look at the Silver Era, at least, even if we look at the Herculean and Vulcan physiques, these physiques still were strong, very muscular, and had an aesthetic look about them. Anyway, that's my take on it. What do you think? What is your favorite look? Which is the physique you like the most? The Apollo, which is more slender and athletic, the Theseus, which is a bit more masculine, stronger and symmetrical, like Reeves, the Vulcan look, which is more like Grimmick and Theriault, or the Herculean, which is Eiferman, represented by Eiferman and Park. Let me know what you think. If you've enjoyed this video at identifying and categorizing the Silver Era physiques, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't to the Golden Era Bookworm. and leave me your comments. Thank you for watching. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now.